recording now.
Hey, yo, Doc, did that Andre kid ever pull up? Or is he still bending the dusts?
Nope, haven't seen Andre. No, wait, I just have. Where's Andre at? He's online right now, dude. You just called him out online. Welcome to the world where we know everything that he's doing at all times because now we're all connected. Video.
Andre, say something. Say something good.
I think you scared him away, man. Thank you. Okay, we'll just move on. We'll worry about Andre at another date. Okay. When you open up your homepage, you're only going to see the most recent 3 announcements because one, you're not reading them, but there's important information there. So I put down Thursday the 19th. I don't know if that's an A day or not. Does someone verify that? Thursday the 19th. Is that an A day?
That is an 8A.
Oh, good. I actually did something right this year. Okay. So if you're looking for information, you can always click on the announcements link here. That will open up the entire set of announcements for the whole class, which it's kind of exhausting now that I look at it. So here's sizes for our light Saber power supply. This is what we're looking at. So that information that we gather as a class before everybody disappeared is here. And we're looking down at our infrared casing and receiver, what we've got here. And this is the sizes I need right now is this set, and I need the length. So I have an idea about where I can place that opening for that receiver to go in. So I'm looking at about a 1/4 inch square if I'm looking at everything. I can go a little larger. It makes it a little easier to put this through. Some of you may want to go ahead and tack some hot glue on there to hold it in place as we work on this. Others will make it tight enough that you won't need to do the gluing. And that's just kind of a personal choice on there as we work through this. We won't be doing the lightsaber next semester, so aren't you guys excited? You guys get to do the lightsaber this semester. Next semester is a little bit different animal. Always is. Got to change it up. All right, so this is our numbers. So I'm going to come back to my assembly here. Now, everything is open right now. I went ahead and before class and I opened all the parts. And so I can get to them. The nice thing about these parts is if you hold over the name of the part, it'll give you a preview so you can see what you're working on. And Proto B1 is my midsection. So I'm going to just click and go to that section here real quick. I see I've got my connections at the top and at the bottom. And I'm ready to create that opening for that infrared receiver. Now, some of you are going, why do I care about working with LED lights right now? Well, most of you will probably do that really cool, weird thing where you put LED lights on your vehicles or your motorcycles. The number one thing that happens when you guys do that is when you're buying those LED lights, your LED lights that you get all come, well, at least the ones that are of any value. And let me see if I can unwind this one. I got tied up. They have a strip on them, and I'll see if I can get that way, that you peel, and it's a sticky. And they're meant to be tacked in your car. If you're putting these on the outside of your car, they're not watertight. And so you're gonna need to make some kind of housing to make sure you can keep your lights where you want them in your vehicles. Where else would you use the LED lights? I can see our creativity level is a little bit. What about lighting up your laptops or your PCs or your gaming machines, your Xboxes, your TVs that so you have in your bedrooms, making mood sets? What about just making things in general that you want to create an effect with? LED lights are pretty functional. They put out a lot of light. If you're looking for a reading, you can design your own reading table with lights like these. There's a lot of things you can do as you get working with them. Okay, and that's kind of the thing that you want to kind of look at is we're doing things in this application. Where else can you do what you're learning in other things? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start to create this. I'm gonna split this in half again to work on it. I'm gonna use my, let's see, I probably want to put this on the right plane. Front plane will work. I'm gonna do the front plane on it. And then I'll hide my midplane here that I used to create this with. And I'll just do my split. I'll log that down. And what I'm going to work at here as I move into my view, and this is the front view here, is where that opening is going to occur. So I'm going to do a sketch on the plane, not the object. Your object is most likely round, and you want to make sure you have a plane there to draw. That's going to be one of those little steps. I know it's going to be a rectangular shape, so I'm just going to arbitrarily draw a rectangle in there, and then I position it. Okay, so I know that my white wires that you guys are getting, these little lengths, are approximately about 3 to 4 inches in length total. So you've got a little bit of length there. So I don't want to come all the way up to the top. I want to make sure I've got enough room to manipulate the wire without bending it really tight. And so if I'm looking at this size, and I can go in and do a quick evaluate to remember what I've done. And if you forgot, you can do this as well. You can do a quick measure. If I turn the measure on, that would help. One of those little things. So I've got a 4-inch, 6-inch, 4-inch length here that I can work with. I don't need to be all the way at the top. In fact, I want to have a little bit of room to work. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dimension in, a little smart dimension. And you're not going to be able to match these numbers. You're going to have to do what works for you on your design. I can't give you the exact formula for these. If I did, these would all look exactly the same and boring, which I don't mind, but it's not the way I want to teach. It's not the way I want to create, engineer creativity. So I'm just going to go here at the bottom to the bottom, and I'm just going to put that at, I think I'm going to go 1.75 in this case. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. Even though I could easily go 2 inches for that, I just don't want to mess with that issue, nor do I need to really worry too much about the length. I want to have that easy to work with. Now, when I drew this rectangle, I did not center it in my space. It usually works when you're working on a cylindrical shape, a good idea to have things somewhat centered in the object. It's not required, but it does create a better cut. And by that just means it's going to cut through straight. You have the same thickness of walls. You don't have to worry about fighting a knot angle as it goes through there. But since I didn't put it in straight, I'm going to use a center line. I'm going to go from the middle of my rectangle down to, oh, maybe I did grab it. Nope, I did. Right down to where that point is. And force that vertical. That will center my rectangle shape that I drew. It just kind of shifted over for me. And now I'm going to size my opening here. And if you remember, we looked at, we have about a 0.24 by 0.21 is what we're looking at. I'm going to go 0.25 and give myself a little bit extra room in both cases on that. So I'm just going to quick smart dimension for my opening here. Maybe. Thumbs are going a little slow. So 0.25 there and 0.25 here. And notice that one went gray. Okay, so what's happened there, and what you got to watch for these is when this happens on your drawings, and it will happen to all of you at some point, I have a black dimension and a gray dimension. The gray dimension means that was a forced or driven dimension, which means it was not needed. That dimension wasn't needed because this is set so everything is equaling out. Not quite sure how I managed that, but I did. Sometimes I get lucky. You can really take that dimension off, and because this line here and this line here are equal, it makes a square. That's one of those constraints that really work well for you. To use those constraints, the more constraints that you apply, like equal, parallel, perpendicular, that removes the need for some dimensions. Okay, at this point, it's just a matter of doing a feature of an extrude cut. And I'm just going to send it through the whole thing. One direction, don't go through two. Just go one direction with it. This will also help me determine where I want to do my decor, my decorating, my embellishments, my cosplay stuff. And there's my hole that goes through. Okay. Now, again, just like we talked about with the wires going up to the top last time we met, I've got a pretty sharp edge here. And it may not be sharp enough that it's gonna catch your finger, but that wire could rub on here, and I don't want to fray the housing, the insulation on it, because once I get that wire exposed, then I may have shorts. And I want to make sure I have a little bit of longevity out of these. I did have a student send me his college dorm picture the first of the year from he graduated 3 years ago, so his lightsaber is now 5 years old. It's hanging on the wall of his dorm. I won't tell you how he uses that, but he does have a light code that he uses in his dorm room, which is kind of typical in college, so we'll just let it go at that. But what you want to look at doing here is I'm going to fillet these inside edges. I'm going to round them off with just a 3D fillet. The fillet's not going to be very large. I could probably go for a full 0.1 on there, which is because I made my wall thicknesses about 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to pick those edges and open that up a little bit more on the inside. That's to make it a little easier for me to slide it in. Now, if you think about how fasteners work and how we connect things, if you were to look at the bottom of a bolt, there's a tapered edge in the bottom of the bolt. If you look at a dowel, a metal dowel or rod, it's got a tapered edge, a chamfered edge. We've been doing lots of chamfers on our arbor press. That's so you can slide those elements blindly, and they will slide into the hole they go into. A lot of things that we assemble, especially as we get more and more micro in what we design, we need to blindly fit things together. And we have to trust feel to get those to go in there. So you're gonna be pushing this wire in with 2 fingers, most likely, and getting that to light in there, and then somehow get a third hand to pull it through on the other side. That's kind of what it's gonna be like.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yes.
On my fillet, it's going like all the way in, and I'm pressing the outer edge. Is it too big, or what should I change
your
in the
number's
settings?
big. So change it from 0.1, go like 0.08 to 0.05, and then work out to where the size works for you. So
Okay.
0.1 is the default, and anything below that you have to manually type in.
Okay.
So yeah, you can change that. So my wall is a little bit thicker, but I also want to make sure I get that black infrared receiver on this outside. Okay.
Okay, we got it. Never mind.
No, good. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question, and thank you for being descriptive in your question, because when I don't see what you guys are talking about. I had one of my college students. This is not even you. He's in an architecture class. He says, "I don't know how to do this." Well, we just had 8 assignments this week. What don't you know how to do? Which assignment? What product? I mean, information's kind of key. So hopefully you're learning. And I know you guys are all hating life. I understand well how it is. But communications become more important than ever before. Texting is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to your generation, because y'all speak like you text in shortened phrases, and it's not enough information right now. And so you're feeling that, and I just wanted to know that I understand that your communication is not where my generation was. We didn't have email. That's kind of a weird thought. Heck, we didn't even have cell phones. I always had a quarter in my sock just in case I had to make a collect call. A payphone. My high school had payphones. It was kind of crazy. All right, so that fixes this. Now, if you want, you can round the outside, but I don't, because that's where I want to make it look like this is an industrial piece. It's a fabricated piece of equipment, comes out of some factory somewhere. So that part finishes this. So that gives me my RFI hold. When I save that, and I go back to my assembly, and this is kind of the routine that I go on. I'm going back and forth constantly. I'm going to update, and now I can, oh, no hole. Well, turn off my sketch. There's my hole. That gives me a really good idea now of what I can do. If you don't like how it looks here now in the assembly, go back and you change that vertical distance and put it where you want it to be. Don't try and edit here, go back and forth. And to help with that, to kind of give you guys a few more tricks and tips, remember up in our view orientation, we can split our screen. And I can go into this. Now, if I'm going to change this view, you can go in and you can go in here and do a vertical tile here. You can get everything up at once. So now I can see, I can actually work in this drawing and work in this drawing at the same time. That's how many files I have open right now. There are 9 files open. I'm working on all of them at the same time. And I sometimes need to do that. Now, if you want to reduce things down because you want to focus on one, you simply minimize. And as you minimize things out, take a few of these, I'm not going to take them all. Actually, I'm going to take them all but 2. Then you can now start shifting your windows around. That's the beauty of Windows. Thank you, Bill Gates, for stealing this from Microsoft. Actually stole it from Apple, which is why Microsoft.
I was gonna say, like, Bill Gates stole Microsoft. I don't.
I got a little backwards. Sorry, but Microsoft does own stock in Apple, which is trippy. Okay, so now I can look here and see here, and any changes I make between the two, I can see them right away. And especially for those that are working on laptops, little smaller screens, that's great. If you have the ability at home and you have things like a Google Chromecast or Apple TV, you can actually broadcast these onto your larger TVs to make it a little easier to see what you're doing. So technology is out there. Some of you have technology at home you don't even know you have. And we don't realize that we can multi-use that technology. Okay, so the part I want to work on next is neither of these actually, but that's okay. What I want to do is fix this top piece. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this one out now, and I'm going to go to my window. And my top piece that I need to fix is for the plastic housing. That's C. So there's C. Because I minimized them all down, they pop up really easily. So I can bring that up. And I'm actually going to switch these around because I'm a little bit biased, sorry, to working on the left side of my screen. Even though I'm right-handed, it's just you just have to deal with it. It's my deal. Okay, how I am. Okay, so here's my setup. And what we need to do is figure out the size of these tubes. So a couple of things that happen. You're going to get a dowel, and you're going to get these tubes. These tubes are 4 foot long. That's the shortest I can order them. They don't come shorter than this. This is to make 4 plastic candy canes for Christmas. So this is the tubing that when you go to the store, it's full of like Reese's Pieces or M&Ms. That's what these are. They're food grade plastic tubing. If you want to suck milk up through them in your cereal, go to it. You know, they're just a big giant plastic food grade straw. Okay, yay, you guys. You need to cut a foot off of this because your wooden dowels are 3 feet. And then if you have, then you have a dead tip. And no one wants a dead tip on your sword. Okay, so you want to have the lights go the full length. And so we have to cut a foot off. We're not going to cut that foot off until you've assembled it as a dry fit, meaning no glue, just a dry fit together. Make sure you're where you want it. And then we'll all go in the shop and cut what needs cut. You have scroll saws in there, there's band saws, there's things you can use to cut these down. There's hand saws if you're scared of the equipment, we can get you through there. So I want to cut this down. We need to measure the size. Now, you can use calipers. You can also use a ruler. Ruler's a handy dandy thing. If you haven't learned how to use a ruler yet, go to YouTube. There are 36,000 videos on how to read a ruler in the United States, which tells me that it's a problem that's not being taught well in school if there's that many how-to videos. So kind of want to keep that in mind. And so you know, I ordered all these the same size. Now, that being said, these are all supposed to be 1-inch diameter tubes. There are a few that are in the box that are 3/4. They're a little bit smaller. So if it ends up being that when you get everything put together and you just simply don't have room, we can get you a smaller one. You just have a tinier blade. Doesn't mean you're bad. It just means your blade's smaller. Not a big deal, right? Small blades are okay. But it will be a little tighter to get the wiring in there, okay? But there are some small ones. Okay, now what I do have is Huh. I need to order my cap pieces. She never sent me that approval. Cool. I gotta get you some lids. There's a lid that goes on these. Yeah, I was still going, I was gonna order those, but then I didn't have an education account, so I have to order them again because I switched schools and I didn't want to go to Plain City. That's a little bit away. And I didn't order them. I got to order those today. Huh. Yay, me. Okay, so I'm going to order those plastic caps. That'll go on here. There's also going to be inside, basically it's tissue paper. In our profession, it's called fodder. Fodder is in every office. It's a translucent tracing paper. It's called fodder because of the thickness of it. It's a heavier fiber that's in that paper, but it diffuses the light really well, especially in photos. So if you were to do a video or a photograph, when you take a picture with that diffuser in there, it does a really good job. Okay.
What's the thickness of the wall?
Of that wall, it is not even a 32nd. It's like a 64. It's really, really thin. Okay, so what I'm going to do here on this guy right here is I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put that in. So I've got a flat surface on here, fortunately. I can use that for my sketch. And I'm just going to sketch right on top. I'm going to start with a 1-inch circle. And I make it exactly 1 inch because that's going to be my center point. You notice it is not, it doesn't actually go out very far. I've done pretty good at guessing sizes on here. And that's all it is just a guess. Over here, I can see the same thing drawing as I go. And this is what's kind of fun is we have dual screen like this, seeing your changes. Now, I know that, and what I'm saying is, even though these are all 1 inch, some are a little bit wider, some are a little bit narrower. It's kind of the nature of what they are. So to make my life easier, I'm going to now take and do an offset of this circle, and I'm going to offset it out a 32nd of an inch, just 1/32. That's going to give me a little bit extra room to accommodate it. And if it's a little bit too much, I'm okay. I can put some glue there, or some epoxy to hold it. So let's not offset that out. And there's my sketch. Now this guy just caught up. As soon as I click in here, it catches up. I see both there. Now my 1 inch circle, I'm not going to delete. Even though I'm tempted to because I don't need it right now, I'm not going to delete it because I might use this as a way to adjust for something different. Maybe want to change out. There is such a thing as a glass tube that you can get. You can also get a hollow acrylic tubes. So if you choose and you want to go with a little more expense, maybe a little bit later on, you can do that. For some of you that are stick around here at the GTI, I'm going to learn how to use those CNC machines in there because they're not ones I've used before. So maybe you want to come back next fall and redo your lightsaber out of wood or out of metal instead of plastic. You want to be able to adjust for that different type. Your drawings you're making right now will be something that you can modify and use for other things later on. Maybe you want to design a new flashlight. I mean, flashlights is it's a $12 billion industry of just making flashlights. The hard part is the shape. If you get a lightsaber that fits your hand really well, and you need it for like a work light flashlight, you want something you can hold and be pretty stable with, or something more importantly. You've got the headlights. I rarely grab my headlight when I go work, but I grab my little pen flashlight all the time. The problem is I need another hand. So where does my pen flashlight go? In my mouth. I have a flashlight in my mouth almost all winter long when I'm out in my garage, because first, it's cold as crud out there, and second, I really need to have more than one hand. And yes, I could go get my headlight. It's just my flashlight's on the shelf. So convenience, it usually drives what people buy. If it's something they conveniently can get, then that's what they use. And I just kind of those things. So what I'm going to do here, that's a long story that she doesn't really care about. I'm going to click on the first circle and then just make it for construction. So it's still there, but it won't affect what I'm about to do. And I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to do an extrude cut. And it's going to be the
First circle,
whole,
or did you?
What's
turned
that?
the second circle into the
I
smaller
turned
circle.
the first circle. The 1-inch circle is the center line. The one that's
Okay.
larger is still there. You see that a little bit better there? So my largest circle.
Yeah.
Now, I did not go down very far here, so I really did not plan really great for this. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of embellishing on this, and I'm gonna break my own rule, my own design requirement, which means if I do it, then they give you the opportunity to do it. When I cut this down, I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna start with a half an inch. And at that point, I can look and I can see that a 1/2 inch is not gonna be what I want. It's not gonna leave any shelf for that to sit on. So looking in my view here, I'm gonna pull that back to a 1/4 inch, and I'm gonna cut that out. That gives me a shelf for that plastic to sit on, but a 1/4 inch is not going to hold it in. This thing is 3 feet long. And if I've only got a 1/4 inch of contact, it's just gonna bend over its own weight and pop itself out. And then you're gonna cry, and you're gonna go home, and you're gonna get outside, the wind's gonna blow, and your sword's gonna break. And no guy wants his sword to break in the wind. It's just sad, really sad. You can cry all the way home, and then what happens, you throw it out the car window on the freeway, causes the truck to swerve, they tip over, and they close the freeway down for 4 hours. There's a duck in class. Oh, we used to call those barking spiders, but that's okay. That's a whole other thing to me. It's okay. So what I've got here, I've got the shelf now, so that the sleeves that slide in there. I can glue it down, hold it steady, but I need a little more reinforcement. I'm going to use the rest of my area here. And because I did not pre-plan it, and because of what I'm doing, I'm going to give you this option as well. Once you've got your hilt at 12 inches, if you need to add a little bit more on the top piece only, okay, then this is how you're going to do it. I'm going to create a way to support that. And I'm going to do it using my outside edge, and I'm not going to do it by just making a longer cylinder, because I've done enough cylinders now, I'm bored. So I'm going to do a new sketch here, and this is going to be my support structure, and it's right on that same surface. And I want to create, what do I want to create? I think I know. I'm going to do a circle. I just thought I was going to do cylinders, but I'm going to do a circle. How's that for being counterproductive? I'm going to start with a quadrant right here. I'm going to do one circle and take it out to the edge. Then bring another circle up and into the center. So I've got a snowman thing, little BB-8 droid going on there. I'm going to trim that down so I have a half circle. So I'm going to trim the closest. And down here, so now I've got this profile. I want to have this inside concave area before what I'm going to do here. I've got a center point. Cool. And I've also got a circled edge. So I'm going to do a circular pattern. My center point, and they use this outside circle to establish it. So that edge doesn't quite give me the point that I want. So I'm going to change that. That gives me 0.1 here. So I'm going to clear out the arc now because I want 0.1. My elements are going to be the 2 arcs. And they're going way big. So my 0.1 is not where I want it. Let's see if we get that. There we go. And I want to make sure I get both elements in there. And this is going to be the support that's going to hold my, my sleeve in place. And I'm going to put a few of those in. And I'm just going to look at my preview until I feel happy. 8's, again, number 10's looking okay. No, let's go back to 8. I like 8. So there's 8 of them. You might, depend on the size, you end up drawing things. And it doesn't have to be circles. It could be squares. It could be triangles. It could be diamonds. It could be horseshoes. It could be lucky charm. I don't care what you make. It's your sword. Design your own fence. Once I get that done, then I'm going to do it extrude. And I've already gone down. I've got a 1/4 inch of support. What I want is a total of at least 3/4 of an inch to support the bottom. So I'm going to go up a 1/2 inch here. So now I'm at 12.5 inches total for my lightsaber. But this is the start of my embellishments. And these embellishments, again, these are pretty weak. They're not super strong here, but it does give me the start of what my saber's going to do. I can do some other things on here as I get working. So for instance, maybe, and that will kind of go that. So that gives me my crown, if you will, update that on my lightsaber. Okay, so the rest of now is all about dressing up. That's the last two areas to address design-wise as far as how the functionality of it. The rest of this is all what you guys want to do to it. It's all how you want to dress it up, what you want to make it look like, how you want it to be, what you want it to be, how that's going to look. That's all up to you. And your creativity matters because you want to make it something personal. Again, these will sit either on a shelf, on a dresser, hung on a wall. That's kind of the intent for these. So you want to make it something that's meaningful, has a purpose to it. The more of you put into your design, the more satisfied you'll get with the project. If you're just like, oh, this is so stupid, it's only stupid because you haven't figured out how to make it yours. Okay. If you go into Star Wars mythos, Jedis have to make their own saber. They cannot use someone else's. It's kind of like Harry Potter and his wand. If you look at any of the great hero stories, the weapon that the hero has must be intrinsically pulled out from within in every great story. And that doesn't matter if it's a movie or if it's a novel or an epic tale, you have to find your own source within. And as an engineer, everything you design has to have, it's always tied to you. You design things based off your experience, what you like, how you want it to work. And that's what makes a good designer. Because if you make it personal, even though you're going to do it for someone else, if there's some part of your personality in it, it's a more complete, a better thought out design and less likely to be redone. So one of the big companies we have in Utah is called Autoleave. Some of you heard of them? Has anybody heard of Autoleave? Probably not, but they affect every car you guys drive. Autoleave is the guys that develop airbags for your cars. They're all made here in Utah, at least the ones that don't blow up and kill you, like the ones out of Tokyo. So we had all those recalls on airbags. All of those were foreign developments. All the US ones built here in Utah, none of them were recalled. And part of that's because they do make that design very personal. Every one is designed for each car individually. They don't design one for all Fords. They're designed for that make and that model. And that means that the person working on that design spends time with that vehicle and gets a feel for what that's going to be like and what it's going to be like to live in that car. Because we spend a lot of time in our cars as adults. Prior to my taking this job here at GTI, I spent 2.5 hours a day in my car going to and from work. That's a long time to be in there. That's a good chunk of my day. And you want someone that cares about where those are. When I used to own a smart car till I wore it out. A smart car, people think, oh, that's the most dangerous car in the world. There are 8 airbags in that car. That thing is like a little Martian rover when it throws their bags everywhere. It's crazy. So make these as really personal as you can. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to work on this and I'll add embellishments. Feel free to stop and ask questions as I go. The rest of this time is really a work time. And I'll keep the screen running here for you to see as I'm going to work starting on this crown piece here. While I like that it's got a fence around it, I want a little bit more personality in there. And so you're allowed an extra 1 inch up around the top of your saber for how you're going to control what would be the light blade. And if you look at any of the Star Wars films right now, if you look at the very edge of the blade, the way this top is designed is what controls the blade itself. And if you watched Mandalorian last season and you saw the black saber, that blade tip is way different than any of the others that are out there. And that's what controls the blade. If you look at a 18th century sword, their blades are all kinds of different shapes and sizes and thicknesses. That's what you're developing here, is what the blade will be. So I'm just gonna spend some time here. I like what I've done. It's basic, it's quick, it's easy, but it doesn't give any personality other than, oh look, there's a corn cob here on the end of it. Yay.
Hey, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So you see how you have the like little cylinder things on the top, like the
Huh?
8 of them or whatever?
Yep.
So my circle's like wider than that. Could I do like the circles but have them on an arc so then they will like when the tube goes down it'll be a perfect like center for
Yeah.
the clear piece to go down?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I think that'd look really cool. I think that'd be really, really cool. So absolutely. Does that help? Hopefully. He didn't woohoo and haha yay. It's such a, okay. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a different change over on this one. I'm gonna do a new sketch of this top one here, and what I'm doing is I'm changing its nature. Actually, I'm gonna do a little different. I'm gonna go back to my extrude. And right now I had chosen all of these, and I'm going to unselect them all. And then do every other one this time. And unfortunately, I didn't even number. So these I'm going to send up 0.5. And then I'm doing it again. And so this is one of the things that you can do. When you work on your design, go ahead and come back and change things out. You have to remember what you've done the next time around. So in this case, it's here, here, here. Ooh. I got clicking too fast. Did I do that right? I don't know if I did or not. I'm gonna add an extra 1/4 inch here. You can add, like I say, you can add an extra inch, so a total of 13 at this point now, but no more than that, okay? Because we're gonna run out of print time. So now I've got multiple depths, and I feel a little bit better about that. Let's see, I got a quick email. Okay. So here's what's happened on that, Mr. Riley. Those were last quarter assignments. I can't change those grades. Yes, you submitted them, but you submitted them this quarter, and I can't change those grades now. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. I'm working on doing, I'll need it, but I'll have to manually figure out what the grade for last quarter would be and do a grade change for you if it ups your grade at all. That's kind of the downside to light work being allowed, is at quarter it locks up the grade book. Sorry about that. Okay. So that gives me a little bit more relief there. I've got still a 1/4 inch I can work with. And I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to do a chamfer on these because I'm now in decorating mode. And I'm going to change my size to start with 0.1 usually. And when you look at the chamfer, one thing I have not taught you guys is we've just done the standard 45-degree 0.06 chamfer. Well, that'll do this, and I don't mind it, but it's kind of blunt. It's kind of there. So I'm going to change the angle. That's a little different. Maybe then if I change the size, it gives more of an appealing look. Maybe I can live with that. And I do this quite a bit. I'll look at different angles, different sizes, get a feel for what I want it to look like. I don't want this top to be so tiny that snaps off. I want to have some substance to it. I want to also look at my depth on there. So the depth that's happening is where the purple arrow is. That's going down to 0.15. If I increase that, I run out of space. That space runs out because I run out of surface here. So I have to kind of play that game just a little bit. And I'm kind of liking that. And once I'm happy with something, then I can go around and apply that to the others and assume that these are all elements of focal acuity for that beam. So set that. Now they look like little pencils. But I want that to be a little more gradual. So now I'm going to add a fillet to chamfer. So I can control that just a little bit more. And I'm going to shape that down And once I'm happy with that, I'll apply that to the others that I see I would like. I'm using the edge, so edges can be just as powerful as a line or drawing as you work your elements out. And make sure you get them all. And check that out. So now they look like little bullet heads, and I kind of like that. I'm kind of into the 9mm bullet head. I can live with that. So I must be really aggressive this year. My wife said that. I'm getting really aggressive. But that I feel a little more happy with. I like that look. Now I want to do something here on the outside. The problem with that, this is a sloped surface on a cylinder. And some of you don't want to do some decorative on there because you want little gears or electrodes or something on there. So the way to do that, and I get my view scheduled back up straight, I need a plane that goes here. And I really don't have a way to match this surface because of its cylindrical nature. So what I need to do is create a plane at an angle to it. Okay, well, that sounds great and easy, but it's not. So I'm going to do this. And this is where you get really creative. And so I'm going to use planes to do my work. I'm going to do a sketch. This first sketch is going to start here on the front plane. And I'm going to take and trace a line from that point to that point. So that gives me a line that I can use. And it just sits right there. Okay, cool. I like that. That's good. That gives me an edge I can use. I'm going to try and use that line to create what my plane would be there. And so I exit the sketch. So that just leaves the line just sitting there. And when I get done, I'll hide it. But right now I'm going to go Features, Reference Geometry Plane, and then select that line. And they'll look, oh, well, that's just parallel. Well, I've already got that with the front plane. But if you hit your perpendicular option, didn't like that. Okay. So now I got to go to plan 20, okay? So I cancel out of this. I need another line. I can't create my plane with just that one edge the way I want to, because I want to run parallel to the edge of that sloped surface. And then go to the top view this time. And so envisioning 3D, thinking 3D helps. New sketch on this flat surface again. I'm going to draw another line from the end point at the top of the line I just did and make sure that one goes straight, very, very straight line. Okay, so that sits like that. And then exit that sketch. That gives me two lines that are out there in 3D space, and I don't need the lines, I need the points. So once I create my framework, and this is called triangulating your plane. If you go work for the U.S. Forest Service, you have to go find someone who decided to cook a chicken in a hot pot. You can triangulate where they're at. That way just happened, by the way. Those people have a 2-year ban from Yellowstone Park. It's my brother-in-law. I'm so excited. So great. Okay, so now I'm going to go on my features, my plane. Because I have points of reference on here that are seen, I can now start by picking the endpoint of the start circle, the next endpoint, and the third endpoint out here. And that plane is now parallel to my shape. Okay, but you have to plan out for those things. That means you're making sketches that will never be a 3D element. They're simply there to create that plane, the geometry. And when your projects get really complicated, you have to do a lot of this. If you do a project that's all done in surfacing, which we'll do some of that in Tech 3, surface models are what we do cars out of because we get more organic shapes out of them than we can with solids. When I check this off, that's going to create my plane, which I'm very happy. So now I'm going to go back to my front view. I want that plane up and off of my object. So I do Control, select the plane, left button down and drag. Let's get that again, make sure that my sketch is all closed. So plane, Control, left button, drag. Now I can put that plane off of the object. And I'm going to go 0.1 because I don't need a lot of distance there. So that gives me another plane. So plane 1, I'm going to hide. So I just got the plane that's out here. sketch 17 that I used and sketch 16. Thanks for being there, guys, but I'm just going to send you in the closet for right now. So mean. 16 don't want to go. Okay, there's 16 done. Now I've got this plane out here. If I sketch on this plane and I change my view to normal to that plane, now I can be right here in the center and I can create these elements that I want to go on here. And I'm going to do an ellipse. I'm just going to pick that ellipse point and randomly create this diode element on there. And maybe add to that, let's do a center point, a little square element to it. Something like that. Trim out what I don't want. Sometimes it's a little bit more work to trim than it's worth, but it gets there. And trim this out. So now I've got this, oh, there's another bullet shape. Gotta love it. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and do an extrude. And I'm gonna flip the direction and tell it to go up to the surface, pick the surface. And now it's on that edge and a match fits. It's in a round as well. So there's no empty gaps there. So it's a good flat fit. And that's going to be one element that's going to go around there. I'm definitely going with the bullet theme today. That seems to be in my mind. That's okay. Plane 2, I'm going to hide you for right now. Now, this is great. It's kind of flat. And then do something else to it. I'm going to dome this. Now, usually we do a dome on a circle like we did with the screw. Remember the dome? I'm going to dome a multi-facet area. Insert feature. Come down to dome. I'm going to pick that surface. It's not taking a minute to think about it because I'm asking you to do an awful lot. And when I look at that, that's kind of, okay, I see what you're doing. I see you went with the thick part of it. That's fine. That's because it's continuous dome. If I take that check mark off, I get a different look. So just one little check mark changes that nature. Okay, well, that's good. I like that. Maybe not quite so high. Go down half of that, a little more shallow. And now I've got an element that is going to be a little fancier on there. I'm not going to do the fillets down here yet because a fillet does not circular rotate very well. Okay. And I've got these are going at 8. I want to put this on there. I'm going to bring my temporary axis on. So hopefully you're seeing, you can just kind of start having some fun with these. And when you go in and start creating your circular patterns, your axis lines there, that's my dome. Make sure you get the other part to go with it as you pick your features. Make sure you get all of them in there. That's for, that's 6, 8, 7, do 12 on this, do 12. 12 fits in there pretty good. I like it. Definitely going with a bullet theme. Not to give this to my wife, she'll like it. Okay, so now those go all around. I'm already starting to get some more going on there. And you can keep going. This is where you start to, so well, what if I come in and what if I did this? And it's all about the what ifs. That might be a half inch might be a little much. Bring that back down and start seeing what you can and can't do. And get a feel for that. And this is why they don't always circular rotate very well as you get those in there. That's going to merge it in. It's going to make it a little more or less organic. Again, you can change down your size so it's not quite so intense. And you have that. And now like little capsules on there. So you can start to just use what you know and embellish on this and create something pretty amazing. Okay, Griffin asked, the lightsaber sketches. They are either a picture of the sketches you made in your books that I gave you the first of the year, and you just take a photo and upload that, or they can be, if you've done everything just as a sketch in your software, I'll take that as well. I just need to know kind of where you're going so that when you say, hey, you know that part that's in the middle that's kind of square but kind of really not, and I need to put this on it, what do I do? I have an idea what you're wanting to do, so I can help with that.
So it is just a sketch, basically.
Basically.
idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Exactly. It's just what it's supposed to look like so that when you say, how do I do this? I don't have to do 20 questions and then go through animals, minerals, and plants to figure out where we're at.
Okay.
Hey, just another quick question. So what you did is you for the little bullets on the side, you got a plane, dragged it out, drew the thing, and then did you do that word thing, or I
No,
kind of
I
missed,
just
but how did you
extrude.
get the?
That was just an extrude. That was this extrude right here. So I just did an extrude. And what I did is I just extrude up to a surface and then pick the face. That way it matches the contour.
All right, so up to face,
Up to
And
surface.
up to
Up to
surface.
surface. Yep.
Okay, but when you put the little bullet thing on, it was originally vertical and not at the angle. But when you press up to surface, it puts it at that angle.
I'll undo it. Let me show where it's at. Oh, I don't want to do it. I'm going to pull time back. How about I do that? When I pull this back here and get rid of all that dome, and I go into the sketch, so you can see where I'm at. That sketch here that I'm editing, and if I bring plane 2 back, so you can see it. Plane 2 is right there. I just drew on that plane. That plane, then I turned it so I could look straight at it. And all I did is I went into the view orientation, hit normal 2, and that takes whatever plane you're working on and shoves it in your face, as if it's a vertical right, front, or back plane. It's just right in front of you. So it looks vertical, but it's really not. It's really at an angle.
How did you get that on an angle, the plane?
Okay, so that's where I had to create these other 2 sketches. So bring those back. And let's do this. That's that sketch. I'll pull it back a little further in time. Back to here. Bring that one back. So what I had to do is I had to trace from this point to this point on the front plane. So I just traced this edge. Then I took another from the top view, I drew from this point over. So that gives me these lines that I can use for the plane. And then I could go into the reference geometry plane and pick on those endpoints. So I can create those planes. Because you need
Oh,
that's what you have to map it out. You have to create this is like making the structure for it or the armature of where the plane's going to wrap over as you do that. And then you can create that plane. And that created plane 1, which is this guy here. Bring that right up. So plane 1 is right flat on that edge. This guy right here. And then I did a copy and copied it out to get to plane 2, which is,
yeah, I see.
okay, that's what we did. So yeah, very, very good questions. It's hard to see all that because I do go kind of quick when I get going, but you're just needing that, especially when working on cylinders, to add that stuff on to it. And it gets a little handy. It's easier on some of the others that aren't at angles. Like if I was to do something down here, that one's an easy plane to get to. I can work on the front here. If I go, let's go front plane again. If I want something to come on the bottom, let me move forward in time again. And so I get all this done. I'll come back and fix that fillet. When I get down here and I work here, I'm going to go ahead and bring my front plane back on. So up here at the top, right click, make it so I can see it. And then change my view to the right. So I need the plane to look like a straight line. And so as a remembrance of this and how we did before, make sure your sketches are turned off, nothing's active. You put your cursor over the plane so it's orange, highlight that orange color. Hold your control key down, then your left mouse button and drag. And that will allow you to create a plane out in front of your object. Now, knowing your diameters helps. I know I'm going to go maybe 1.25 here. So that click in the gray area, that might show me where I'm at. That's a little too far. Change that. Whoops. Change a little faster than I wanted. 0.125. Click in the gray area. It's a little closer. Still too much. Maybe I'll just go 1 inch. So you can go through. You can see where things are without going in a whole lot. That's too close. So, and that's 1.0625. So I just go through my fractions. I just go, and sometimes I go through 8. In this case, I did 4, so yay me. and that gives me a plane that's out in front. Then I can hide the original, because when you have multiple planes, it is possible that you select the wrong one by accident, because I can pick that plane or this plane through each other. And that's, so I just get in the habit of, okay, I've used you, just like any good tool. Once they're used, I get rid of you, buy a new one, usually because my kids have lost it. And now I can do a sketch directly on this plane that's going to be down here.
Okay.
And I'll just come in and put a little whatnot going on there. There's a good whatnot going on there. And again, I want to control shape. That one's not very straight. So I'm going to take one edge here, get out of control, take one edge and force it vertical so it squares it up, rotates it where I want it to be. And now I can go ahead and do maybe something like an extrude boss base. Flip the direction. I can tell it to go. I can do a lot of things. I can go up to the body and just pick the whole thing. That'll work. And you'll see how it kind of warps around that edge. The other one that works is up to surface. Take that one surface, it'll match that. Then if that surface changes size, this will match with it. It'll go with it. Keep it set. So those are kind of some things you can do on there to keep things, give you some buttons and gears and nuts, bolts, and screws. You can make fake screws and stuff on these. They look pretty cool if you want to go like steampunk. Steampunk works really well on these. You just have to build all your pieces for it. That's if you guys are into steampunk. And then you can come in and do other weirdness things to it. The problem with this is, you can make this an actual connection. So I'm gonna hide that now, do another sketch. And I'm kind of completely winging this at this point. That's okay. And do something that is not even built, and this will get cut. And I'll take this maybe 0.6 in. Don't do many things are less than a 16th. It's kind of hard to see. So I get to that point. Now I can do my circular pattern on that, or I can just do one. It doesn't have to be you do a circular pattern on everything. You might just have one of that element because that's a fine tuning point or a bolt or something. So you have that ability to just make these what you want, and that's really what I want you to do: is have fun with it, make it yours. See what you can come up with, make something that no one else has ever seen, and then we print these. And that's kind of the goal. Okay. All right. We've got about an hour and 30 minutes. So this is going to be the rest of this time is kind of lap time. Like I said, I'll probably work on this a little bit to get to where I want it. And as I go through each piece, and how they connect and how they work together. I probably won't get it all done today because I'll end up going and helping you guys. Those online, if you want me to look at your stuff, maybe you're working, by all means, let me know. We can do a screen share and see what things are going on for you and how things are working. That's not an issue, okay? Because we want to make this as normal as we can for you and keep things moving forward.
Can I get some help then?
Yeah, who am I speaking with?
Dan?
Dan, okay. Dan, are you ready to share screen?
I am.
Okay, Dan, what's going to happen is I'm going to make you the host.
Yeah, we had to do this yesterday, last
cool.
class.
I can't remember. It's like every day is a new saying. Okay, I am going to stop the share and I'll put you in. Okay. And there you go, sir. Now keep in mind that everybody else is seeing what you're seeing as well. So that's kind of the perk, is we can see each other's work a little bit. Let me just so that.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do, I'm in a sketch now, a linear pattern.
Okay.
Because what I want to do is I want it to go one here and then down this way, but it won't let me select here. But if I click like here and I linear pattern,
okay.
Wait, it was.
So yeah, it won't do that because the linear pattern means X and Y only, not the angled area that you're doing there. So what we need to do is is that a sketch that was done there, a circle sketch?
This? Well, no, it's an extrude and then a cut.
Okay, so a lot of things happen. You want to reproduce that same thing in those areas.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order for that to actually have happened, if you move that to other areas, you're going to have to also reproduce that same exact cut at the same time in order to get that shape.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's probably wigging out, saying, okay, you're asking me to make the cylinder, but there's a cut that's involved that made me the shape that I am today, and you're not taking that aspect of myself with you. So let me, I'm going to take your screen a minute here and just kind of get a different bird's eye view on that. And this is kind of, so I can see it. It was much slower when I do this than what it should. Okay, so that, you extruded that out, and then is the cut the angle? Is that what it is? The angle is what you
No, it's I mean, if you go look at the cut, it's I made a plane next to it and I just cut through it.
okay.
So I just cut like a triangle through.
Oh, okay, so what you did. Okay. And do you have the space size of that triangle?
What?
You have the size of that triangle?
No, I didn't make it the specific size.
Okay. So that
So what I did actually, so what I did is I made, I believe it's a 45-degree angle up from the bottom right corner of that cylinder. So there is a size for it. I didn't
okay.
take it
But we
specific.
want this up here and one back here.
I was gonna make a couple, but yeah,
Okay.
that might be a
So-
bit big.
No, go ahead and try. So you're doing a linear pattern. Your X direction is the first one typically. X, this can be X, this edge here. X doesn't have to be horizontal in 3D space because there is no such thing as up in 3D.
Oh.
Okay, so and just like in space, when we send someone to the moon, and we say come home, they're not going north. They're just finding the Earth and headed towards it. There's no north or south in space. Okay, so it's one of those different concepts. So I'm gonna pick that edge, and I'm gonna flip that direction because I see the arrows going down. So I want that to go up. The spacing, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna come down here to the features. I want that feature and that feature both. So I get the cut in there, hopefully. Extrude. And if you have a hard time getting them, you can pull the boss extrude here and the cut here at the same time by just picking it from your list. Okay, so that gets me the features. I know I've got 2 of those. I'm not seeing 2 yet because the distance is, it's clear up here.
Yeah.
So I got to bring that down. Do you have an idea what that might be?
Oh, it's probably, well, that's a great question.
It's probably at least a 1/4 of an inch because you don't have a lot of extra.
Yeah, I think it's a 1/4 of
Okay.
an inch maybe. Or I think it's maybe a 1/2 inch is all the way to the end.
We'll try it.
Maybe. Oh, it's a little less than that.
It's less than that. So somewhere in the middle.
Probably.
This is the part I have fun with. This is fun. So we're on a track here. Now it's going to stick up above because there's just not quite enough room.
I mean, you could just do measure and evaluate. You could measure the distance between them.
No, but that's not my job. That's yours. I'm going to do a 1/4. I'll show you what you need to do,
Yeah.
and then you have to figure that out. Because
Mhm.
what I want is, I don't want those to touch. Whatever it takes. I don't want.
Oh, and then are you just gonna copy from this?
Kinda. Kinda. Put that in just a little bit higher. If you click in these gray areas, it'll update. Now that gets me to that point. Now the next one is to go over here, and that's where direction 2 comes in. And we go
You didn't select the box.
box.
You didn't select direction 2 box. You
bad.
clicked the flip.
I'm bad. I'm bad. Box. And we want 2. And they're clear over here now. And it's in double these, okay? So there's no way to get around that because of the way that it works. But we need 2 of these back in here, and That just isn't going to be really what we want. I'm going to try 0.375 and a little bit more than that. 0.4. 0.5. Not 5.5. That's stupid. So that's about where you want that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is seem like a little bit extra work, but I've got to do it this way. So here's the next one, and there's the next one goes there. That's too far, right?
Yeah.
So let's just go back and do to here. Then when you check that off, you're gonna have these guys floating out. And what you have to do is just delete these out with a cut. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
then that puts them there. And then you do another one off of this to get to this point.
The heck?
Will that work?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna give it back to you. And if you'll give me back control of my world, that'd be appreciated. That's looking really cool. There's a lot of detail on that. It's gonna be a fun one to see.
Thank you.
It's gonna be really fun. Anybody else? What about in the class? You guys stuck? Nope. Have fun. Just really being really creative, guys. The more creative you are, the better these look. There's no boundaries on creativity. If you're worried about something, you can come and ask me privately if it's something you're concerned with.
I have a question.
Sure, Carson.
So, is there any place that you have the measurements for like the wires and the connections and stuff?
Yeah.
Where are they at?
In the course announcements, we went over that the first class.
Which, oh, in the first class?
So I'll show you.
Okay.
In the announcements, it looked like this, called Sizes for Lightsaber Power Supply. It looks like this. Remember this is the first class? Or were you a little late? This is when you were eating your cereal, huh? You just weren't focused. Yeah. So this is the announcements in both courses. It's just open up the announcements and go down to refine sizes for lightsaber power supply. These ones we measured in class for everything. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps me. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to disparage you so much. I apologize. Okay. Anybody else? And for those of you who have been distant since we started the light portion of these, your supplies are here. When you get back, we'll get those dished out to you. And hopefully, it looks like Granite's going to be the one school that survives all these. Just came back. Jeff, did you get booted out?
Yo, I was on mute that whole time.
Yeah, sometimes I just mute you because it's kind of powerful and I can do it.
Dude, it's snowing outside like a lot. Well, and it shouldn't stick because I have work today and I can't really drive in the snow.
You know what? God doesn't care. He just assumed have you come home early.
Yeah, you gotta come home early and, I gotta get those Krispy Kreme donuts.
No,
Gotta get packing the LBs.
No, you've not driven in snow yet?
No, I've driven in the snow. I've only had a rear wheel drive car, but since my new car is all wheel drive, hopefully it should be a lot better.
Should be, yeah.
People were just telling me that all wheel drive is a lot more different
It is.
than I've driven 4-wheel, but not all wheel.
It's just if you drive too fast and skid, as long as you're driving like a reasonable person, you should be fine.
That's good.
That means no speeding, sir.
On the shift, we might find some place to go do donuts.
How are you going to work if you're on dismissal? I thought you had to quarantine.
What do you mean?
No, you just don't go to school.
Is that all?
Yeah,
That doesn't solve any problem.
I have a job too.
Yeah, so you just kind of hang out. Like, you don't got much to do.
Wow, there's a lot of of holes in this plan.
Dude, it's
Yeah,
like
there
really
really
coming
is.
down. Have you looked outside, Doc?
Dude, I don't have windows outside in my room, puppy.
Dude, it's like coming down.
Okay. Well, it's better than going up.
It's better than going up. Well,
If it's going up, we've got a bigger problem to think about.
It's probably snowing different out there,
It'll be
but
melted by this
I was
afternoon.
like, this is the snow.
bro, we're
I'm
getting like, we got like a foot on the ground already.
There you go. Let's make it bigger
Just
so they
kidding.
can see your snow.
Wait, so quick question. So what we need to have done is the whole outside like 3D in parts like assembled with some like textures or drawings on the exterior.
By the end of Friday, yeah, that's probably where it should be by the end of Friday.
And then wait, so is there more assignments to submit for Friday or this week?
Yeah, there always are. Let's
Well, like, is it for the lightsaber or is it separate
no,
ones?
just the sketch and the lightsaber. You're not submitting parts yet. There is a place you can submit those. I'm going to, this is, right now I'm in engineering 2. And so right now you've got module 7 pre-test and your preliminary design. So if you have your parts there, this is where you put the parts Friday at where you're at, not finished. That's why it says preliminary. So your preliminary design, this is the sketch, this is the files, the SolidWorks files, just so we can make sure you're making progress. It's just a progress check. So whatever part you have made, you would upload so I can look at them. And you could either do those, you can probably do those as screenshots, would be fine. Or you could submit your SolidWorks files, either way you want to go with that. But it's just to make sure that you are still making progress. That's what that is. So that's, so you have a pre-quit test here. It's do your best. Like again, this is the one you can work with other people. And then if we go into engineering 1, then we have nothing in that course for you to do.
Okay.
Because that was your, that one is when you submitted your sketches, was in that course. Oh, because people found out there's a tool. Fun with it.
Wait, so do we still have the same kids that are in class, or did you get another school?
Yeah, Kearns is back. And then tomorrow, Taylorsville and Olympus come back.
Dang, so it just feels like Skyline, even though we were the ones that like never got out, and all of a sudden it's like
the first half of the year.
we were limping along.
No, your mom's going to take you to the doctor. We know.
It's called limping along.
It was because they didn't want the football season to end, right?
I know. Well, apparently the
Well,
government
we had a great season, and then Orem just whipped our butts. Like
not as good as what Kearns was having.
Kearns,
Yeah.
they have a good football team.
Yeah, they kick your butt, boy. And then drag it down the road with the back of your hair. Because they're just that
Ooh.
good. Huh, Kearns? Yeah, they were
I don't hear any supporters. They must really suck.
There's
I
all.
could vouch for Kearns, even though I don't go there. Well, I could vouch for them.
You're Cypress, aren't you?
Yeah, we didn't do so well.
You guys played. So. Yeah, Kearns is a good team. It's kind of nice to see him doing something besides water polo. In fact, I'm just looking at the numbers. Yeah, we're already starting back on the climb. So Granite's back up to 1. Kearns has 1. Olympus is down to 0. Cottonwood's sitting at 11. Cypress is at 12. Skyline's at 13 still. That should drop down by the 20th. So it's mainly Skyline. So like I said, for those of you who are at Skyline, as long as you have not contracted the virus, you can come in on the 19th to launch that rocket. And we'll just be right outside to launch those. So
Is that also the day we'll be printing, or the sabers will all be printed?
that's what I'll start printing them. I won't be able to print them all at once, but I'll start printing on the 19th. If some of you get done sooner, then I'll, by all means, let me know and I'll print them sooner. Tomorrow or on Friday, I'll open up where to submit the final lightsaber parts, and then we can do that. I can start printing some of them. So like I say, if you get them done early, then yes,